Damn, that sun. Hey y'all. So this is my third attempt at making a video, because I keep getting fucking interrupted, and there are certain people around here that don't agree with my views, and one of them actually, threatened to break my phone and called me all kinds of nasty names, and yeah, I'm done. See, I have a bunch of things that are on my mind, and I've been looking to make a video about all those things. Pardon me, I'm sorry. So I want to talk about the whole thing with the racial division going on in this country. I look like hell today. It's just super fucking hot, and I can't do anything about that. So anyway, yeah, I want to talk about the racial division in this country. It's really gotten super bad lately, and I've had enough of it. I'm sick of these thugs who are looting and rioting, and I'm sick of the people disrespecting law enforcement. I'm sick of the people claiming that they have no rights when they have more rights than others in this country. I am sick to death of fingers being pointed at white people, calling us racist, and cops being called, being called assholes, and people, wanting to now defund the police departments, and a lot of the police departments are actually disbanding now because of this, and it's wrong. Sorry. The first issue I want to take up is the issue of Am A Dobry. I believe I said his name right. Because he's the first case I remember hearing about this year. So what the deal was with him is he was trespassing at the site of a house under construction, and this kid, I don't know where you all come from, but when there's a house under construction, there's always a no trespass sign put up, and if you are on the land or in the house, that's trespassing, and that's illegal. Well, this father and son, whose names I'm spacing on right now, they saw him, and this kid had a record for he had been convicted of B&E and theft, and the father I wish I could remember their names, but the father had worked for the DA and had overseen Am A Dobry's case when he was convicted, so he already had prior knowledge of who Dobry was. But anyway, they had decided, the father and son had decided they were going to do a citizen's arrest, which is legal in Georgia. So they hopped in their truck, and they started to ask him, where he lived, what his name was, why he was in the house. They tried to get him to stop. They told them that, they were calling the cops. and he still refused to stop. And then there came a point where he finally did stop. And he turned around, and the son had jumped out of the truck, and he had a shotgun in his hand. Well, everybody down south has a gun. Everybody. It's the South, dude. That's the way the South rolls. But he wasn't pointing the gun at Aubrey. And I'm not defending what happened. Just, I'm just doing a play-by-play of what I saw in the video and what I read in the reports. So, anyway, Aubrey turned around and he actually charged at the son who was holding the gun. He tried to wrestle the gun from his hands, and it went off. The two guys have been arrested. I don't think they've been charged yet. Because I believe that they're still trying to find out how the gun went off, whether Aubrey fired the gun while fighting with the other dude over the gun, or if the other dude fired off the gun. So, I'm not sure of the circumstances, not sure how it's going to be, but right now, with the racial tension so high, I don't see these two guys getting a fair trial, and that's what worries me, is because I don't think the shooting was racially motivated, and I don't think that it was deliberately done, to be honest. I really don't. I do not think the guys, decided, hey, let's go shoot us a black man today. I'm sorry. Even though they're from Georgia, I'm not going to sit there and call them racist, because there's no proof that they are racist. None. At all. And again, like I said, I'm not defending what happened, because no one has a right to take anyone's life, ever. Okay? So let's just make that clear. I'm not defending what happened. I'm just looking at it from an outsider's point of view. You know what I mean? And then there was George Floyd. This is where things get hairy. So, the rioting started when George Floyd was killed in police custody, when Derek Chauvin knelt on the back of his neck. But let's go over the facts of this case, okay? George Floyd was a career criminal. He had tons of arrests for theft, assault, drugs, B&Es, sexual assault. That's right. The last time he was arrested, he did time for sexually assaulting a pregnant woman at gunpoint. This guy was a career criminal, and Black Lives Matter is holding him up as a martyr. Ain't nobody got time for that shit. Fuck that shit. Oh, and another thing that really pisses me off. Everyone who's had family members die this year has not been able to have a proper funeral for them because of COVID. But yet this asshole gets a gold coffin and gets fucking his dead body chauffeured around the United States. The fuck out of here, really? And then his memorial service has fucking thousands of fucking people. Thousands of people. And no one's worried about COVID. Why not? And by the way, when George Floyd was being arrested, he had fentanyl and methamphetamine in his system. That's right, I said fentanyl and methamphetamine. he was arrested, I guess, for trying to pass off counterfeit money. And when the cops got there, he was sitting in a car and with a couple of his friends, and the cops had him get out of the car. I guess they talked to him, questioned him a bit, and then decided that they were going to arrest him. And he tried to flee, and they got him. They threw him down to the ground. They cuffed him, and they picked him back up, and they were going to put him in the back of a cruiser. Everyone keeps asking, why wasn't he just arrested? Why wasn't he just brought down to the station? Here's why. This is the answer to that question for you all, so you stop asking. The reason why he was not brought down to the station immediately is because they tried to put him into the back of a cruiser, and George Floyd started screaming, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I'm claustrophobic, I can't breathe. I can't be in this car, I can't breathe, I'm claustrophobic, I can't breathe. So, Officer Chauvin takes him out of the cruiser and tells him to go sit on the curb while they wait for a backup vehicle. And of course, there are like 3 other cops around. Well, instead of doing what Chauvin told him to do, George Floyd decides that he's going to try to book it. Well, he gets caught, of course, because, duh, there are other cops around. And again, he gets put down to the ground. Officer Chauvin holds him down, and he was detaining him until the other cruiser got there. Well, he starts saying, George Floyd starts saying, I can't breathe again. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And then he goes, oh, mama. And people start telling Chauvin he can't breathe. You're going to kill him. Get off him. People start pleading for his life, basically. Finally, after, I think it was like 8.5 minutes, Officer Chauvin, Derek Chauvin, former Officer Chauvin, I should say, got up off of him, and he and the other officers began checking his pulse and everything, and they couldn't find one, of course, so they called an ambulance. Well, of course, when the EMTs got there, he was dead. And since all this has happened, Chauvin has been arrested, and I believe he's been charged. And, of course, he's been fired from his job. He'll never be a cop again. All of the cops involved have been arrested, and they're all looking at like 40 years apiece, which is basically the rest of their natural lives. Again, I'm not defending anything that the cops or anyone in any of these situations has done, because no one, like I said, has a right to take anyone's life. Nobody, ever. Black, white, I don't care. You don't have a right to take a life. Then there was the dude, I think his name was Rashard, who was passed out in his car in the Wendy's drive-thru lane. So the manager of Wendy's called the police, and when the police got there, he was still passed out, and they knocked on his window a bunch of times. The dude finally rolled down his window, and cops were like, you need to move your car, are you on something, They asked him to move his car like 4 or 5 times before he finally did. Once he did, they performed a field sobriety test on him, which he failed. And so the officers decided they were going to arrest him. And so when they were trying to cuff him, the dude pushed one of the cops away, grabbed his taser, and tased the officer. And then he tased the officer's partner. And when the first officer got back up, he saw his partner down, and he didn't know whether he had been shot or what, but he saw him down. So his first thought was, oh my God, he has a weapon. And he gets up and he shoots. He shoots the dude, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, I just really can't remember what his name was. Like I said, I think it's Rashard anyway. But he got shot, and this was not a racially motivated crime, I don't feel. I don't think that this was a racially motivated thing. I think it was just something terrible happened. And it just happened to a black man. And I've been called racist because of my views, and I really don't, I don't care anymore. I'm sick of being called racist. I'm not racist. I have black family members, I have black friends, and I love them to death, and I would go to war right beside them, I love them to death. I would fight, to the death beside these people. But I am going to make this known that I am tired of the race card being used in this country. I am sick of hearing black people saying that they have, less of a chance of succeeding in life than the white man, because that's a fucking lie. They have actually more of a chance, if you want to get down to brass tacks, and I'm going to explain this to you right now. They have more chances to succeed in this life, in this world, than we do as white people. And I'm going to tell you why. They have the United Negro College Fund, which will pay for college for black people. Okay? They have the NAACP. They have affirmative action, which will help them to get a job even if they're not qualified for the job. And it comes down to them versus a white person who is more qualified. They'll still get the job because the NAACP will be like, well, you need to hire somebody of color. And they have their own colleges. They have their own, music stations. They have their own, they have BET, their own television channels. It's ridiculous. They have more. If we had what they had, we'd definitely be called racist. We really would. And, I'm just sick of being told that I should be ashamed of the color of my skin. I'm not. I'm really not. I'm not ashamed of being white. And I don't hate law enforcement. Cops have never done anything to me. See what happens when you don't break the law? Cops don't bother you. Cops are like bees. If you don't bother them, they don't bother you. You know what I mean? It's that simple. Sorry, y'all. Chasing my cat around. I'm trying to keep her from doing something she isn't supposed to be doing. But anyway, but yeah, I've never had a problem with law enforcement, ever. Like, never. And all the people that I know that don't like law enforcement have had problems with law enforcement, and that's why they don't like them. You know? I have cops in my family. I have an uncle who has been with the NYPD for like 30 years, and he's never, ever used his service revolver. He's never been in trouble for excessive force. He has never had any complaints from anybody. You know, he is highly respected and highly decorated. You know? And everyone's probably going to be like, well, you're white, you have it easy, you have no idea what it's like to be discriminated against, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to tell you right now, you're full of shit. I may look like I'm just another white girl, but actually you would be wrong. I'm actually Mediterranean. I'm Italian and Israeli. So if anybody knows what discrimination feels like, it would be me. People are mean to Jewish people. I've had a bunch of issues with anti-Semitic people. Had a bunch of run-ins with anti-Semitic people. When I was 14, I had someone paint a swastika on my locker at school. Then that same year, I had someone drop a note into my locker telling me to go home, Jew. My great-grandmother survived the Holocaust. She was the only member of her family to actually survive. She survived the Dachau concentration camp. So, yeah, we know what hate is. Jews have been persecuted for centuries, okay? Don't sit there and tell me that, you know, I don't know what it's like to be hated. I'm hated just for my religion. I don't believe I should get any, you know, special treatment from anybody because of my status. Oh, and not to mention I'm also a woman. So, you know, women have it harder than men sometimes. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit there and, you know, do the whole, oh, feel bad for me. But women sometimes have it harder than men. You know, we're not paid as much. And if we're good at something that only a man is supposed to be good at, we're looked at funny. Like, I'm great with automotives. And when I tell people that, they look at me like, but you're a girl. So what if I'm a girl? My dad made sure I knew what I was doing so that I was never left stranded on the side of the road. Okay, and now, anyway, to get back to the whole racial thing, there's another topic on the subject that I want to bring up, and that is the whole Bubba Wallace thing. See, Bubba Wallace is a race car driver. He works for Richard Petty Enterprises. He drives for them. And he's never won a race. Ever. So, anyway, this past week, he claimed that there was a noose in his garage hanging above his car. And he and his pit crew went to NASCAR officials and told them, hey, you know, I'm being the victim, you know, of racism. There's a noose in my garage, and, you know, all that jazz. So NASCAR, of course, is quick to call the FBI. It took 15 FBI agents to figure out that he was not actually the victim of a hate crime, that the noose that he was speaking about wasn't a noose, it was actually a rope pull for the garage door. And all of the bays had one. Yeah. So, Bubba Wallace basically alienated, and NASCAR too, if you want to be technical, alienated their fans, who are predominantly white, other crew members, other drivers, people who worked at Talladega, the employees there, staff, whatever they want to call them. They managed to alienate all of the whites, white conservatives that followed the sport, basically. And the reason I think that this was a PR stunt, to be honest, because Richard Petty, being the king of NASCAR, should have fucking known, and his crew should have fucking known also, that it wasn't a noose, that it was a garage door pull down rope, and if they didn't know that, then they should be fired, and Richard Petty really should start over. God, it's no wonder they can't win a race. But the reason why I think that this was all a PR stunt is because Bubba Wallace had gone to the head people in NASCAR, or whatever, the head officials in NASCAR, and he had complained about the Confederate flag being up at Talladega, and he said he would, he told them that he would suggest that, it be taken down because he felt that it would make, himself and other people uncomfortable having to look at that flag. That flag's been up there forever, by the way. Talladega is in Alabama, and Southern people love the Confederate flag because they don't use it as a sign of, white supremacy. They use it, they look at it as a sign of a symbol, rather, of Southern pride. You can look at like Leonard Skinner albums. They have the Confederate flag on a lot of their albums. The Dukes of Hazzard had it on the side of the General Lee. It's a Southern thing. It doesn't mean hatred. It just means pride. And I'm sorry, but if you were offended by a fucking flag, you really need some heavy duty counseling. So anyway, he looked at it as a racial thing because he said that he had received really nasty messages on social media, as well as nasty emails, since the whole flag thing, and he's like, you can never be too cautious, blah, blah, because it could have been. And then the day after, it was found to be the garage door pull. Bubba Wallace was on, I think it was MSNBC, and he was still saying that it was a racial thing, that, it was a noose, and that he was still a victim of a hate crime, and he didn't care what anyone said, and that, he had integrity, and that, just a whole bunch of bullshit came out of his mouth. And that just, he embarrassed the sport. He embarrassed himself. He embarrassed Richard Petty. He embarrassed NASCAR. And I can't watch NASCAR now, thanks to him. I also think that the reason he did it was because he's a liberal and he's not a Trump supporter. He drives the Black Lives Matter car. And I think this was also in retaliation for the fact that NASCAR allowed President Trump to be the Grand Marshal at Daytona this year. So there's that. I'm just and then the dumb son of a bitch in the autonomous zone in Seattle threatening to sue the Seattle police now because they didn't respond quick enough to him. I'm sorry, idiot. Autonomous means unto one's own. The cops and EMTs don't have to respond if they feel it is unsafe to do so. You chose to take over your city and trash it and terrorize people and burn it to the ground, and then when somebody got hurt, you wanted help from the police who you said weren't allowed in because if you saw a cop in your zone, you would shoot him? Yeah, good luck with that, asshole. I could see that lawsuit getting thrown right out of court. I'm just so sick of the racist shit going on in this country. There's no place for it, there's no need for it, and I'm done with it. You know, I'm sick of hearing the shit from, black people saying they can't succeed and everything. When you look on TV and that's all you see black rappers, you see black actors, you see, black athletes, and they're driving these big old cars, living in these big old homes, you know what I mean? And they're gonna sit there and say that they don't have a chance to succeed in this country. It's bullshit. And I'm calling a spade now. I'm calling people out because I'm done with this shit. I'm done with, I can't stand seeing my fellow Americans, apologizing for the color of their skin. It's not right. We shouldn't have to. We don't ask them to apologize. Why should we? And I don't know. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this video, but I had to make it because this has been weighing on me, and I have no one to talk to about it. So, I had to get it out somehow. I will talk to y'all later. God bless America. God bless President Trump. And God bless my fellow patriots. Mwah.